Well, good afternoon and welcome into your Friday meeting. This is Craig Beck from StopDrinkingExpert.com. We're doing these 3 times a week. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and ring that bell so you get notifications when we go live. And actually saying that, I am lying to you a little bit today. We're not live. This is pre-recorded. So feel free to comment, but just know that I won't be able to see them and I'm not ignoring you. It's just that we're recording this ahead of time because our guest today is so important and so busy that we have to book her diary far in advance. And she's very peculiar about what time she'll do. And anyway, she's called Sharon Hartley. I worked with her 20 years ago. And she's had her own personal journey with alcohol that we both kind of went in our separate ways, and we both went on our own separate journeys with alcohol, got into trouble and escaped. And now she dedicates her time to helping other people via her podcast, which is called Over the Influence. I'm very pleased to welcome Sharon to the stream right now. It's so good of you to fit us in, you know.
You lie. I'm not busy. I've not had time to tidy this room, Craig. So can we just start by apologising for the diabolical background that you might find
okay. You look like one of those politicians on the telly, you know, when they bring them in to talk about COVID and they do it from their spare bedroom and they've positioned all their fancy books and hidden all the, you know, shades of grey and all that stuff.
Yeah, all that. I'm actually in the boiler room. It's about as unfancy as you get. But yeah, thank you for that really lovely introduction, Craig. I am so busy. You know, I could barely fit you in.
Well, you know, it's a showbiz lifestyle you lead. I mean, the reason I thought about you is because of all this story of the pandemic and the effect it's had on people's drinking levels. And it's obviously been horrendous. And you'll have seen, you know, drinks manufacturers celebrating bumper returns, bumper years, massive profits. Diageo had their numbers out, you know, a couple of weeks ago, something like 30% up. Very, very happy. But obviously the pandemic has had a dramatic effect on people. And it does appear that women have fared a lot worse than men for some reason. So I wanted to get you in to talk about that. But I wonder if you could give us a kind of little bit of background about how you went down this road and how you knew you had a problem.
God, where to start? Well, like you just mentioned in the intro, it probably started around 25 years ago when we were working together in commercial radio back in the 90s. I blame you for it all. Blame you. So yeah, an intro as to who I am. My name's Sharon Hartley, as you said. Everyone calls me Shaz or Shazza. 48 years old now, 3 kids, husband and a beagle, live in Lancashire in the northwest of England. I stopped drinking September 2018, and I only ever intended on taking a 90-day break. Something I've done, you know, for many, many years. Oh, I need a break. I'll have a break. I'll take a break and then go back to drinking. I'm still on that break 3.5 years later, but that's sort of another story. Rewind way before that to get to that point. I suppose like so many teenagers, late teens, started drinking then, you know, sneaking the old Diamond White or whatever it was when you were starting to go out. And then really ramped it up in my 20s, you know, working in commercial radio, Craig, and you'd go to the opening of an envelope if there were free shots and all the rest of it. Carried on drinking through my 30s, but that's when it sort of seemed to, I suppose, ramp up a bit when I had children and working and fell into that whole wine o'clock culture, you know. Had a hard day with the kids, hard day at work, and what started off as a glass of wine at night, which would have been fine, as you know, never ends at one glass. And then before I knew it, in my 40s, I was drinking probably a bottle of wine a night. Sometimes would have a Monday off, you know, and be thinking I'd be doing really, really well. And then ramped it up more at weekends. And I just got to the stage where I thought, I'm setting my watch around drinking, making decisions based on drinking. I spent so much time thinking about flipping drinking, when I can drink, where I can drink, who I can drink with, what I can drink, how do I recover from drink? I'll have a drink. And it was just like this cycle, this non-stop cycle. So having failed at various dry Januaries and having done a few successful sober Octobers, I knew I could do it. I knew I felt better when I took a break, but I knew 30 days just wasn't enough. So I set myself a challenge of 90 days booze free after a really long summer holiday with the kids. Again, drank my way through it and looking for any opportunity to go out somewhere where there was a bar or where we could drink. And I was knackered, and I thought, I'm done. I really need a break. And so it started September 2018, and that was 3.5 years ago. And in a nutshell, I've never looked back. Best thing I've ever done. And I would never have predicted it in a million years.
Yeah, I was saying on the stream the other day, I was saying, as you know, I've been a broadcaster for 20 odd, well, probably 30 years, something like that. So I've been an orator most of my life, but I can't quite find the words to describe how much better life is without poison in it than it is when you're drinking. It's like everything gets better. Your energy levels, the way you see opportunities, your career, your relationships, every aspect of your life is better without alcohol in it. But it seems so strange because when you're in that loop, you can't imagine life without alcohol. You think it's your friend. You think, this is my life so stressful. This is my one little treat.
Yeah.
And it's strange how it twists and turns like that.
It's mad. If somebody had said to me 3.5 years ago, there's this magic pill, there's this one thing, all you need to do is just have this, just do this, and your life will improve in pretty much every single aspect immeasurably, sort of beyond your wildest dreams, that I've said, you're having a laugh, mine's a large rosé. Please, I would not have believed them, which we come full circle, and we'll probably talk about this, the podcast that I co-host and the community now that we've got going. Sometimes I feel like people simply don't believe us when we're shouting about sobriety, because that's what we do. We sing from the rooftops about sobriety, not about going, you mustn't drink, you mustn't do this, drink is awful. It's your choice, But in order to experience what we've experienced and continue to do so, it's about taking that leap and just trying it, because we're not lying or making it up when we say, God, it's so much better. And there's so many women that I know and that I see and that message me and that are stuck in that loop. And it's like, how do I get out? How do I jump off that hamster wheel of hangover hell? And you can do it. You can absolutely do it. But going back to what you were saying about the lockdown, I was looking at an article. I think it was some figures that were released in The Guardian a couple of weeks back, and we brought it up on again on one of the pods, and we were chatting about it. And it was, it was, none of it was a surprise. The figures are rising. There are more women drinking. The amounts that people are drinking are rising. But again, that comes back to something that really struck me in the really early days when I wanted to stop. I read something in one of the Quit Lit books, and it was about whatever amount you are drinking now, fast forward 5 years, and you can double it. You can absolutely double it, because the more you drink, the more you want, the more your body thinks you need, the more your brain wants, and all the rest of it. And it's a really vicious circle. And we've had a lot of people get in touch, myself in particular, with women my age that are working with families that have been partying through the 20s, raising families through the 30s, get to the 40s, and they're like, shit, is this it? Is this it now? A bottle of wine a night and feeling rough the next day and starting again. And I want to go, no, this isn't it. There's another way.
Yeah, it's true. And that bottle of wine a night is kind of, you can justify it to yourself to a certain extent, because you can find enough other people who are doing it. And you can ask them about their drinking and they'll be similar. The problem is it doesn't stay like that. And I was talking the other day about, you remember when you were like a kid and you might have heard of an alcoholic who was drinking a bottle of vodka a day, and it sounded so outlandish and so ridiculous. And you thought, well, even if I had a problem, I'd never get to the point where I was drinking a bottle of vodka a day. But I know at the peak of my drinking, I could easily do half a bottle of whiskey in a day. So like you were saying, fast forward that 5 years, if I'd continued, I would have been doing a bottle of whiskey a day.
Yeah, completely. And I think as well, Craig, that the thing with alcohol, and again, speaking from a woman's perspective, it's really insidious. It really creeps up. And then before you know it, you are in your mid-40s and you go, is this an issue? Have I got a situation here? Because as you say, when you're talking about people's relationships with alcohol and the word alcoholic, which personally I hate, I cannot be doing with it because of all the connotations and all the rest of it. it creeps up and it bites you on the arse. And there's so much secret drinking, there's so much shame. Again, women don't, it's not that they don't want to talk about it. I think in many situations they feel they can't talk about it because they're on their own. They're the only ones in this situation. They're not.
Yeah.
The minute you start chatting about it,
it seems to me that the marketing seems to be aggressively going after women these days. I mean,
I hate it.
there's a brand of wine in America that's called Mommy's Little Helper. I mean, how
Really?
really? If you Google it, you'll find it. But I mean, how narcissistic is that?
I mean, I don't know where to start. I don't know where to start. I know something popped up on one of my feeds the other day. I can't remember if it was Instagram, and there's baby grows that say, "This is my bottle. This is Mummy's bottle," and all this. And it's at every turn, as a woman and as a woman with kids and as a working woman, you go to a garden centre and there's all these signs saying, "Oh, Prosecco made me do it," and Mummy's needs this, and you go shopping for a birthday card and you can't find a single birthday card without a bottle of wine on the front of it or a bottle of gin and all the rest of it. And it's at every turn. So no wonder women and men think, how am I going to get out of this? How do I do it?
Yeah,
And
I mean, something happened to me a few months ago now. I was in a supermarket in Cyprus, and they put the sweets at the checkout while you're waiting to try and get get a bit of extra sale. They had these colorful cans by the checkout, and I thought, oh, okay. I picked one up, and it said something like grape and elderflower. So I thought, oh, okay,
nice.
I'll try that. And I got in the car and I started driving away, and I opened it and started drinking it, and I spat it all over my steering wheel. It was wine at the checkout, and it wasn't labeled wine. It was like pineapple and peach.
So what was it in the really small print, like the alcohol content?
You had to look in the small print, and it had the alcohol content on the back. But I just didn't expect wine to be with the Mars bars and the Skittles.
But again, it's probably stressed out women, I don't mean to generalize, but or a stressed out parent at the till with the kids. There's some sugar for the kids because you're doing my head in. I'm knackered. Let's have a bit of that. Yeah. It's everywhere you turn, isn't it?
So let me ask you, I mean, you're a working mum. You've got kids, a husband, and you're holding down a job. How have you dealt with those points in the diary, points in the year where you would traditionally drink? So like Christmas, birthdays, going on holiday, has any of those caused you a problem? Have you had to double down your efforts, or has it just been simple?
I wouldn't say it's been simple. I think it gets easier the more it's gone on. But if I rewind maybe 3.5 years, sorry, to when I started out, things like, the first birthday celebration. I remember our eldest turned 18 actually, and prior to me not drinking, it was this big, oh, you can buy me a legal drink for the first time. And actually, I was 6 weeks in, and he was buying me an alcohol-free cocktail. And it was just all a bit strange. That's all. But in my head, I knew this is what I was doing. There were no half-assed measures. It wasn't, I'll do Monday to Friday and I'll have a drink on a Saturday. None of that. It was absolutely zero alcohol. But once I got through that pretty tricky 90 to 100 first days, and then really got into it and really started to experience the benefits that came with not drinking, anything that's been thrown my way since, I've tackled it head on with a really clear mind and this sort of renewed, Wonder Woman strength. I won't go into all the details, but we lost our family business 3 years ago, and it was atrocious. It was hands down like the worst thing I'd ever experienced. Had I been drinking, I dread to think what state I'd be in. But I was able to dust down, move on. Right, okay, what are you going to do? Get back into broadcasting? Oh God, well I couldn't possibly do that. But I was able to make all these decisions, and just have balls basically to get on with it and crack on. Drinking wouldn't have added a single positive to any of it. Felt quite relieved, to be honest.
Does your husband still drink?
He's rarely drunk anyway. He's never ever been a drinker. When you hear of these weird people that can moderate, he's probably one of them. In that, I truly believe moderation doesn't exist for anybody that's had a situation with alcohol previously, but he can have a gin and tonic on a Saturday and he won't touch it again for the 4 weeks, 4
Yeah.
months. So he's just not bothered. So no,
Phil,
he's never been a drinker.
yeah, my wife's the same. She has about 5 glasses of beer a year.
Yeah. Well, that's what my husband's like. Yeah, and I'm
Right.
just like, why? Why do you even bother?
Yeah. So, I mean, you obviously you get to hear from a lot of people who've been in your
Mm.
situation. What do you say to someone who comes to you and says, "Look, I'm exactly where you were. I'm in this loop. The kids go to bed, and the first thing I do is open the wine. I've been doing it for a decade, and I can't stop. I've tried everything. I've tried cold turkey. I've tried going dry January. I just can't do it." What do you say to someone like that?
Well, I just say that obviously we say we're not medical professionals, we're not qualified counsellors or anything like that. We just share our experiences of giving up alcohol as expert ex-drinkers. And I say you absolutely can do it, unless you need medical advice and detox, and then go see your doctor. If it's not at that situation and it's somebody whose story completely resonates with mine, it's like you want to do this, you can do this, but you've really got to try harder and you've got to really go for it. And I'm quite blunt, saying you can't do it half-assed. You can't just this and just that. If you want to remove alcohol for a set period of time, you have to commit to that. And I think I say that you've got to give it 100 days. You've got to just stop, give it 100 days, and begin to experience the absolute benefits that come with it. And if you're going to start to get stick from your social circle, stuff them, nothing to do with them. You might have to stay in for a bit. You might have to make some serious changes. At night, that habit, the kids have gone to bed or whatever, it's your time, do something different. Do something different. Fill that gap. If it's sleeping, knitting, walking, get out with the dog, whatever it is, just do not pick up that first drink. Because if it was anything like me, it's never just the one. The one bottle, yes. It's never just the one.
Yeah.
And I think it's just really key to be so focused, don't care what anybody thinks, and just plow on for 90 to 100 days. And if you get to 100 days and say it's not for you, well, it won't happen. I've yet to meet a single person, Craig, that would say that.
So you're of the belief that it's better to almost approach it like it's temporary. It's not forever. I'm just going to do a couple of months and see how I feel, rather than
because I think the feeling, if I'd have thought back to that September in 2018 and somebody says you'll never drink again, the thought of it was terrifying. What do you mean I'll never drink again? That means I'll never have fun again. I'll never laugh again. I'll never party again. And it's a really overwhelming thought. So at that point, what worked for me was setting a target of a break with zero alcohol, not moderating, none of that, zero alcohol for a set amount of time, and then reassess. But actually, I think once you do get to triple figures and you are experiencing the benefits, you're looking forward then. You're not looking backwards going, I don't want to go back there. Excuse me.
bit of COVID.
I hope not. I've got a raging headache as well.
Oh, no.
Before I came on the call, I've done a negative test because I do them every day for work.
Right.
Excuse me. I'm fine. I apologise.
Okay. No problem. No problem. So the podcast you do you think doing that helps you as well? Do you think it's kind of therapy for you?
God.
It keeps you on the straight and narrow?
Massively. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know how we even managed to start doing it, because this happened right at the beginning of lockdown, and it was three of us around a dining room table. And my co-host Freddie, he's just approaching 3 years alcohol-free. Very similar story to me. Was a big sort of party animal and thought, I'm never going to give up booze. And here he is approaching 3 years. And our podcast producer Ben really enjoyed the beers, but we didn't seek out a producer that was alcohol free. We didn't care that he drank. He was just really good at his job. And then what happened with him, he spent that time in our company editing the podcast. He's like, God, these two they're really happy about sober life. They're really sobriety. And they're telling thousands of people about it, so they can't be lying. So he's like, I'll give it a go. And he's now 18 months alcohol free, which is incredible. But yeah, going back to your point, it helps massively with my accountability. Not in a million years could I do what I'm doing with over the influence and then think, you know what, just I could have a glass. No, it's not happening. And of course, you know, we've had you on the podcast, one of our favorite episodes. People still talk about it. That Craig Beck and his lovely voice. And it's brilliant. Like sort of influencing the alcohol-free world, and authors and people in the well-being world and all the rest of it. And then we have some just amazing stories of recovery, of ordinary people that have really put themselves out of it, and they come on to share their stories. And again, the theme throughout is just that sobriety, it's glorious, it's sunshine, it's amazing. It doesn't solve all life's problems, but my God, it makes everything a damn sight better. And it just, for us, the podcast better, because the more stories I hear, the more I still get excited about it.
Yeah, and it goes in at a subliminal level, doesn't it? You're constantly exposing yourself to this narrative that sober is a great life to live. Have you had any negative, consequences of quitting drinking? Have you had to deal with friendships that were sustained only by alcohol and they kind of turned on you a little bit? I hear a lot of stories of that. People say that they've kind of lost good friendships because people say things like, "Oh, you've changed. You're not as much fun anymore. Oh, it turns out when you're not drinking, you're quite boring," that sort of thing. Have you had much of that?
Yeah, my social circle has changed massively, massively. And I think it's twofold, really. I mean, I've had some really weird things said to me over the last 3.5 years. What's the problem? What's the problem? What do you mean, what's the problem? The problem was that I was drinking, not that, and I no longer don't. That's not really a problem, that I don't drink. I've had people ask me the question, do you think you're better than us now? It was actually
Really?
asked to my face. Yeah, and I went, really? It really upset me at the time, really upset me. And I went, no, I don't. I just think I'm a damn sight better than I was. And I couldn't give a cack who else is drinking. I don't care. I'm not bothered. This was only ever about me. But then what it uncovered when I stopped drinking is that actually I'm not sort of the extrovert, party loving person I thought I was. I really like a Friday night in, Craig. I really like getting up early on a Saturday morning. I like chatting to our community members. I like a decaf coffee and a brew. I love going to bed early and getting my 12 hours sleep. And those things that I used to do in the past, again, setting your watch around drinking, it's not important anymore. So what I sort of did and continue to do so is be as obsessed and as enthusiastic about alcohol-free life as I was about drinking, and working out how I could get as much down my neck as possible. So yeah, that has all changed massively. But it's okay because I'm really happy doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. You're getting 12 hours sleep. You want to get out of bed.
No, I like my sleep. It's
12 hours?
Awesome. Not every night, Craig. I do get up early. Hours. Not every night.
4 a.m. I wake up, eyes open, wide awake. This nonsense starts 4 a.m. every morning. 12 hours. That's 2 nights sleep.
One of the best things in the world, and I can't sing about this enough. And there's a big long list to go at where sobriety is concerned. These days, I go to bed and I shut my eyes and I sleep within 30 seconds. I'm asleep, and then I'm done. I'm gone. I'm out like a light, and I wake up. I mean, I'm not like fresh as a daisy every morning, but the sleep is glorious, and I wouldn't trade that for anything. It's wonderful. Sound like an old woman.
No, I get you. It sounds heavenly, but I'm fine falling asleep. I just wake up crazy early. So do you want to tell us how we find your podcast? Where is it? What do we search for? Where do we go to get it?
Absolutely. So we are called Over the Influence. You can get it on all your major podcast providers. So if you've got Apple and Spotify and all that jazz, just look up Over the Influence. We've just started, it's that popular, it's going that well. We've now started doing a second episode a week, but that's like a subscription. It's a $5 a month, and if you want the details on that, I can give you that, not a problem. But yeah, just look up for Over the Influence. And we're on Instagram as well, and on Facebook, and we've got our own community, and it's the best thing in the world. Never thought I'd be singing about sobriety with a bunch of strangers. These are the people, Craig, when I was drinking, that I would go, why are you going out? What sort of dullard are you for not drinking? Now I champion these people. I'm one of them, and it's the best thing ever.
Fantastic. Sharon, you are an inspiration. And thank you so much for sparing the time to talk to me tonight.
You're more than welcome.
I know you're very, very busy and very important, and I feel honoured to have just 10 minutes of your time.
It's lovely to be asked, and it will never not surprise me reconnecting with you after all this time.
Yeah, it's a long time. Well, if you ever want me to come on your podcast again, I would love to do that because I enjoyed it last time.
You'd be welcome with open arms. Absolutely, Craig. We'll make that happen. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Sharon. Good to speak to you. So there we go. That's Sharon Hartley. Over the Influence is the podcast. Go and find it because you will love it. It's a good listen. The three of them on there, and they have some fantastic guests. I think we had a few internet problems there. Hopefully it wasn't too bad. But thanks so much for watching. I'd love to hear what you think. Pop your comments below. What do you think about Sharon's story? Does it sound like yours? Do you have a similar path? Have you got more tips of how you stay on that sober path? Put them in the comments below. That'd be great to see. And don't forget, if you're new to the channel, click that subscribe button, ring the bell so you get updates when I go live. And don't forget, we do 3 live streams a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Be here at 2 o'clock UTC GMT. Thanks for watching. See you in the next episode.
Imagine waking up tomorrow. No hangover, no feelings of guilt or regret, just full of energy and vitality. That goal is not only possible, it's easily achievable. Find out how 200,000 people just like you have rediscovered their happy, sober lives using the Stop Drinking Expert program. Reserve your place on today's free Quit Drinking webinar and get a copy of my best-selling book, Alcohol Lied to Me, as a free gift just for turning up.